So to go from a drought in which neighboring farmers feared that their neighboring farmers would commit suicide over, to having so much water that parts of the town are cut off and people are stranded on their farms and fence lines are flooded away and livestock is flooded away around us is crazy.
Yeah, getting through a year of drought is pretty difficult, especially because we have limited water storage. And so then when this rain comes down and it's like really intense and it takes everything with it, it's pretty brutal. So
the storm itself was chaotic. We tied ourselves to our caravan tent to make sure it didn't take off into the sky.
I'm like standing in the tent, peeping through a tiny little hole while everything's like flapping and we're literally tied to the tent so it doesn't fly away, and trying to see if everything on the field is alright, and just like seeing this giant piece of plastic just like wah, wah. And the chaos in the greenhouse, like everything just collapsing. Oh my heart.
We were out in the brunt of the storm, also trying to clear the pig pen of water. Within a matter of minutes, the pig was chin deep in water.
Being really worried about Choppy the pig and being so deep in water and not really knowing what to do about it.
The goats were thankfully not on our property at the time. They were okay. And to watch fairly helplessly as things that we built with our own hands, things that we worked extremely hard for, were pulled away by the wind, ripped up, carried off. I mean, there were solar panels flying, the plastic from the greenhouse was flying, to the point where the greenhouse has sustained frame damage. The chickens were ankle deep in water, the animals were underwater. We're hanging on for dear life, and it's just not stopping. It just wouldn't end. For 2 days, it just continued.
Like seeing this river rise. I think the PTSD from Stanford is like much.
Was pretty stressful. But I think there's some good things that came out of it.
It was so much work getting it all to that point, and like a year's worth of growth and efforts in there. It was just starting to look really good, and then just to see it all like fall apart is really hectic.
So in the last year, we've put up a greenhouse and grown a lot of food in it. We have put down flower beds. The goal is 80% self-sufficiency, and until recently we were at the 60-70% mark. We have gotten many chickens, we have geese, we have guinea fowl, we have rabbits, a pig, 2 goats, the dog, the cat, in the last year and a bit that we've brought onto the property and learned to keep with no experience. That's been fun, some of it more stressful than the rest. And our goats are actually hopefully pregnant, so there should be more goats in a few months' time. We've bred rabbits, we've eaten rabbits, same as with the chickens. We've bred chickens, we've eaten chickens. We have eggs, we have vegetables. We're completely off the grid in terms of electricity and water. And so the dream does work, but we've definitely had a few setbacks out of our control.
We've been thinking about doing this for quite some time, and that's why we moved from Cape Town already to like a smaller village in Stanford. So coming here was quite logical. At the time, I lost my job, I got retrenched, so that was quite a big push to get moving off grid. Also, everything just being so expensive and unhealthy in the city and in the village. You want to be able to eat cleanly and live cleanly. So those are two major pushes.
Not being tied to an office or a place of work allowed us to move wherever was viable, and that's not always somewhere where there's work available or jobs available. So being able to work online, being able to work completely flexi, and being able to have some kind of control over how much work you take on not always how much comes in, but how much you take on, is one of the few reasons this works. It allowed us to buy a property where property is affordable. It allowed us to buy a property where there is water available and we can have solar, and it is quiet and we can keep all of these animals, and it allows us to spend time working on all of those things without needing to be in office during certain times or being on meetings during certain times. And that's been pretty much a necessity because it's tough juggling the homestead and work. The month before we left our previous home was crazy. There was so much to do, there was so much to decide on, there were so many sacrifices that we made that in hindsight we probably didn't need to make.
The month leading up was just like really hectic. Anticipation, we didn't know what to really anticipate. And then a lot of planning as well, like loads and loads and loads of planning, loads of research, putting things together, prepping stuff, practicing things, and making sure that everything works.
We had to find a place for all of our stuff. When I say that us packing up and getting to this property, while the dream had been around for a long time, the action of the plan was very quick in the end. 2 or 3 months, we had to pack up everything, find place for it all, decide what was coming with, get the caravan in good enough shape to get here. Thank you, Angus, Bounty Hunter, and Jess, you guys are amazing. Stayed at a friend's house the morning of, struggled to get this caravan hitched, managed. Robyn's never towed anything in her life, but she got it up the narrowest driveway with the tightest turn you could ever imagine.
Okay, so we slept over at Jess and Angus's place, yeah. But we had to circle back around to our place just to pick up the cats and to load last minute things, hand over the keys and so on, and pick up the van. So upon hitching the van, that already went south. We had major issue with the jockey wheel, and it just didn't really work out so super well. So we get through to Jess and Angus, and we realize on the way there that the lights aren't working to the caravan. So thankfully, Mr. Angus, Bounty Hunter, helped us hook up the brake lights and all the lights so that we could actually travel safely. So that was already a bit of a delay. He had previously helped us with the wheel bearings and such as well, and we noticed that one of the shocks is a bit dodgy because the van is really, really old. Anyway, we leave Stanford, all is cool. Never towed anything in my life, yeah. And this bucky is giant. It's loaded to the brim. I've got animals with me. Kat's got animals with her in the chariot. And yeah, everything's going alright until we hit the pass. And the pass is like shoo, 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 shoo. And the wind starts howling, yeah. And every time I go one way, the van kind of, because of the shock being a bit dodgy, goes like ding ding. So it pulls me this way, and it's more than 700 kilograms, weighing me this way. And I got loads of stuff weighed on the back of the bucky as well, or upright. So that's also creating this whole wind sail. And turn this way, I go gong gong gong, and it's just the seesaw back and forth. And in my rear view mirror, now we had walkie-talkies between the two of us. And in my rear view mirror, I just noticed there's something up with Kat's car. And you let me know that you're overheating. So we have to keep it at a constant 80 k's an hour. Any faster than that, and we have issues, and any slower than that, we have issues.
None of the lights on the back of the caravan worked, and Angus helped us out. They still didn't work, but we had no choice. We had to hit the road until we hit a bump, and then there they were, brake lights and lights on the back of the caravan. So that was good. It was a 4.5 hour trip. It was about 40 degrees. I was in my grandmother's car, the chariot, with no air conditioning. the big boerboel and 2 chickens, and a heap of stuff. There was no space to even think. My car was overheating, had to stay at a steady pace, otherwise it would overheat and I'd have to stop and put water in and that kind of thing. But we got here at about 4 p.m. and about 10 minutes before a thunderstorm hit.
So yeah, it was really, really wild. And by the time we got here, I was absolutely exhausted. And unfortunately, through the process, it was one of the hottest days, one of the scariest trips of our lives. It was wild weather, I don't know what happened, and just crazy driving. And in the process getting here, unfortunately, our 2 chickens, Chi and Chicken from Stanford, they passed, unfortunately.
I don't think tired is the right word to use. We were just running on like faith, I think. I don't think we slept much for many weeks leading up. The physical toll it took on us to get packed up in our previous home and get unpacked here was intense, and there was no time, so we lived off of hot dogs for weeks. And our first meal when we got here was hot dogs, and it was fairly depressing. I was pretty tired of hot dogs by that time. But it was what we could do. We had no time before the storm to set up the solar, to set up anything to cook on, to make a different plan. And in terms of where we came, we didn't know the place well enough to know where to go for food either. I thought that maybe Robyn would run away from me. I will never forget the rain hitting. I was at the shops buying hot dogs, and the lady behind the till was real excited. She said, okay, the rain's coming down, so we'll probably just close in 5 minutes, who cares about the actual closing time. And I came home, I realized Robyn's alone on the property trying to get set up. It's bucketing down. I got home as quickly as I could. We got inside. There was lightning everywhere. There was rain everywhere. We had these big plans. We would arrive, we would get the caravan unhitched, and we had these tents to use for shower and toilet situation, and it just was impossible with the weather. So that first day, it was us, the dog, the 2 cats in the caravan, the toilet in the caravan, the kitchen in the caravan. We needed to bath somehow. We were absolutely filthy from the travel. We were exhausted. We were not in the mood for hot dogs. We were not in the mood for anything at that point. And Robyn just looked at me and said, "Are you having fun yet?" And to be honest, I was. Despite it being fairly miserable, I was having fun. But it was not the start we imagined.
A day of arrival. Are you having fun yet? Yeah, so day of arrival, all excited. I mean, we're still obviously like really exhausted. We get here and like on the property, boom, there's a whole bunch of random cattle, and we don't have no clue whose cattle these are. Now bear in mind, we don't know anybody here. We've never met anybody. And we've got everything loaded and ready to come here. So getting the owner of the cattle was quite a thing. Anyway, by the time we'd done that, we got the caravan in and managed to unhitch it somehow. It got really stuck onto the bucky, jammed, and in the process the jockey wheel bent, and it's clay, so we started sinking in this pasture land. At that point we started to realize that we know nothing and no one, and we haven't eaten. So Kat zooms off to find a shop for something to eat, probably hot dogs for like the 1,000th time. And I stay here, and a labourer is helping me unhitch and do the whole thing. Anyway, the van manages to get unhitched, and it's like all the way up against the fence, so we can't unhitch the awning further than that. I need to find some kind of thing to brace the jockey because it's completely bent and it's all just going pear-shaped. So I don't know where the labourer disappeared to. He's just like, whew, I don't know where it gone. And I'm left on this bare field with nothing, and I'm feeling super exposed. I'm walking down here trying to find anything, and I realize, like, you can prepare as much as you like, but nothing prepares you for the actual moment that you're doing it. Like, you can be as prepared as you like until you're actually doing it. It's still going to be a wild ride. And yeah, I'm walking down here, and as I get closer to the river gate, next minute I see some clouds forming, and somebody says, yeah, there's a storm. And I remember it's like one of the hottest days ever. Yeah. And as I get closer to the river gate, this lightning bolt hits the river gate. I just spun around. I was like, "Noit, I'm going back. I'm out." Next minute it starts bucketing. Cat gets back. I don't know. We just barely made it inside, into the van. Both of our cats and the dog at the time is all just like everybody like this. It's rough, but we made it. Shaquanda, you want some tea?
You're being rude, baby. You're not allowed to have tea. The dream and the general goal means a certain kind of freedom that not everybody looks for, not everybody needs, but I definitely do. It's a self-reliance thing. Not needing to worry should another pandemic hit about anything, not needing to worry should any kind of crisis hit. I mean, we've lived through enough crises in our lifetimes to know that they're generally around the corner at any given moment. To be able to provide for ourselves, even if the end of the world had to come, is a kind of freedom that you can't really put into words and is worth all the effort.
I was afraid of not knowing what's going on, you know, like afraid of messing up, I guess, you know, fear of failure. That's always a thing, and that's a big thing. I was really scared of safety, security. We were really, really exposed because, like, we're just in this pasture field. And also the first day of arrival, our neighbours were not very welcoming at all. We had threats of our dog being shot and such, so it wasn't the greatest arrival experience. So I was really, like, nervous about things like that. And then just in general, like, are we going to be able to make it? Like, can we do it? And I was really excited for a new chapter. I was really excited to try something new, to own a property, to start to build a life. I was really excited to be a farmer. And yeah, just to like actually finally be actioning all the things that we've been talking about for so long.
There was nothing on the property. It was basically one long field of animal pasture with our little caravan somewhere on it, and we were exhausted lying on the tiny little caravan bed looking out the window. It was just about dark. It had been a very misty morning despite it actually still being summer.
I don't know, something just felt odd. There was a weird lingering mist down at the river line. And we came to check on all the animals. Went back inside and was sitting in the van, and I was looking out the window.
I remember feeling unsettled. I wasn't sure if I was exhausted, if I was ill, if I was stressed, or what the reason was. I felt unsettled, and I mentioned it to Robyn, and she said that she felt somewhat unsettled too. And she looked out of the window, and I glanced up at more or less the same time.
And something like massive, almost very dog-like, but really big, almost hyenas sized, kind of morphing between four-legged and bipedal, kind of doing this thing, running stupidly fast from one side all the way across the fields to the other. But that makes no sense because there are fences. And this thing was going through the fences and it disappeared. It moved insanely fast, made no sound, and I'm not really sure what it was.
Calling it a dog is kind of the closest description that I can get to, but I can't say it was a dog because, to be honest, very little could be made out. But this massive black running thing travelled from the neighbouring pasture, from right to left, right across our narrow strip, straight through the fence lines at an insane speed with no sound to it. Basically within 2 blinks of an eye it was gone. And I know we weren't the only ones that noticed it because Tank came racing out of the caravan, barking like crazy in the direction that it had gone. We followed suit to see. We didn't know what kind of animals we could encounter here, and we were worried that maybe we were encountering a dangerous animal, but there was nothing to be seen. It was quiet, it was big, it was fast, and it was gone.
It was raining a fair amount that week, yeah, and then we actually had a fairly clear day, light rain in the morning, I believe. And then we decided to take a walk to town. And yeah, we just went about our business. And when we came back, we realized the fence was gone. And the river had come up. And earlier that day, we'd literally been walking on the river line and it was dry. And yeah, it came up so quietly without any warning and very quickly. It was quite surprising. And since then we've been very alert.
The drought took us by surprise because the first weeks we were here, we had an unusual amount of warm weather rain. Enough that the river actually rose and took the fence lines with it. Enough that we were gathering, just off the tent roof, hundreds of litres of water within a matter of minutes with the first rains. And we were hopeful, thinking that perhaps it would be a good wet winter. In hindsight, that's nothing I wish for anymore. But what actually followed was a drought, and quite a substantial one, and quite a difficult one. We were okay, but we definitely watched other farmers struggle, and those around us struggle with the drought. And I don't think we could have seen it coming after all the rain we saw when we just arrived. There has been a continuous request, an ongoing request, that we document what we do here, what happens here, how we do things, and there is a year's worth of doing things to catch up on. So the first episodes on our new YouTube channel is to catch you all up on what has happened, what's been happening, and a fairly honest and realistic outlook into the life that we're living. You will experience some homesteading information, some animal keeping information, off the grid information, and on top of that we will talk about some of the high strangeness that has happened on the property since we've arrived here, because the experience cannot be explained without including it, and it is interesting and it is worth knowing about, and that will be what you can expect from this channel.